Good evening, folks. This is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy, and we're on the start of the week session for March 15th of 2020. We'll go through our usual agenda. I'll look at the prior week's results for currency strength meter for the week and the past month, our fundamental announcement scheduled for this week, a look at the major pairs on the daily charts, any setups we see in progress, and a few words in conclusion. The long-term ledger, uh, the only one really down from its inception, and again, it's meant to be long-term, so this one will probably shine in a time frame than the others. Again, it's not down critically, so it's a little bit below the break-even point right now. We did have two trades that closed out last week, one of them at profit and one of them at a loss, which was pretty much three times the size of the winner. So that explains our slight drawdown at this point. The intermediate term ledger, on the hand, is at its highest point it has been since we started almost a year ago. We're carrying 77% profit right now, and about 20% of that was just last week. We had all of those trades you see on screen were open this past week. In fact, I think there may have been more open that are outside the visible portion. We had a few losers, three or so significant losers. All the rest were winners. Some of them were incredibly profitable, like that pound dollar that hit its limit at the end of the day, giving 875 pips just with that one trade. And we had quite a few others that broke the 100 pip mark or came pretty close to it, and a handful that were anywhere between 25 and 70 pips. So all in all, it was a massively profitable week. I'd have to go back into the stats and see if we've ever had a week this profitable in a year that has already been quite profitable. But anyway, this account just went to the moon. We're pretty close to hitting 100% actual gains. The reason it's showing at around 80% right now is simply cost of trading. So if you look at the column that's marked swap, we do have a cost in holding trades open, and that tends to add up over the course of the year. You look at the wins and losses at the top and add them up. We've had right around 300 trades this year. So that's 300 trades adding swap. It does tend to add a bit to the cost of trading. And again, that's normal. But that's the reason why the account is not closer to 100% in actual growth. It's because of the swap cost, the cost of trading. But anyway, we're getting pretty close. We're right now about $1,000 short of an actual 100% gain on the account. And of course, we'll be seeing what we can do in the remaining 2 weeks that we have till the end of our fiscal year. And last but not least, the short-term ledger. We had a drawdown the week prior, and this week we pretty much recovered that. We had growth of 6%. This account had a much steeper drawdown last year, which we had only just recovered from, but we're still nicely above the opening balance. Not as good as the intermediate term account, but still moving in the right direction. And as the fiscal year closes, I will be looking at all three accounts and seeing how we can make some improvements. I've already got quite a few ideas of things that we could have done better throughout the year, and these will be implemented as the new fiscal year begins. I want to remind people that this is the end of our second year of operation trading publicly. The first year was very experimental. We were still nicely profitable for the first year. Then we improved in the second because we took a look at what we were doing and we tweaked it here and there. And additional to that, I did start recording my trades via my FX book. So there was an actual third-party audited and verified look at the accounts. And that's what we've been doing this second year. And now for the third year, as I said, I have quite a few ideas that I will be implementing to the performance on all of the accounts. More on that to come in a communication that will be coming out around the end of the month when I wrap up the fiscal year and I present the full results as well as my outlook for the coming fiscal year. So stay tuned for that. Notes and opportunities for another spectacular week as market volatility through the roof. We did have a nice boost on the short-term and accounts as we just saw. Virus is still sending to the market. That is still going to be the fundamental to out fundamental all other fundamentals. And our live event in Pennsylvania is still going to be happening at the end of April, unless for some reason the situation is such that all travel is prohibited and the hotels are closed and all that fun stuff. I will be playing that one by ear, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to be that. And even if I'm the only one in the room, worst case scenario, it'll give me a recording of a 3-day course I can later leverage for something else. So if you're still thinking about it, it will be happening again, unless we go into some kind of martial law scenario. So stay tuned for that. I will be sending updates as often as I can, but as it is right now, I will be holding the event come hell or high water. Either for the past 30 days and the past week, we can see how volatility is at the highest I have seen it in years. We're close to 20% volatility for the month, and most of that was last week, 15% volatility on the week alone. The big mover, for whatever reason, and this is puzzling beyond anything I have right now, is silver and gold crashed for the week. Normally, when the situation is as panicky and critical as it is right now, gold and silver go up. This time, the opposite happened. Silver and gold dropped significantly, especially silver just took a complete dive. If we look at some of the analysis that others are putting out, they're saying that since the stock market was the biggest hit since January, it's just been going down. We're at more than 20% losses on most of the stock indexes. What people are saying is that nobody wants to sell the stocks at the bottom. They've learned that lesson. So they're holding on to their stocks, but they need to take money out of somewhere and pay their bills and continue, living. And silver and gold are what they're currently selling. So even though silver and gold should be going up, and eventually they will, my opinion, there's been a lot of selling of silver and gold just to cover the daily expenses of anybody that had any significant holdings. And of course, when people are selling, prices go down. That's the way the market works. So we'll see how long silver and gold remain down. As I posted on our Facebook page earlier today, I'm going to be putting a ton of money into silver because as far as I'm concerned, it's now at bargain bottom prices. So some of my excess cash that has been piling up from trading is going to be put into silver at the earliest opportunity, which is probably going to be tomorrow. And then I'm in no rush. I don't need to sell my holdings or anything. So I'll just keep it till sanity prevails and bullion starts going up. But back to these charts, I'm not going to dwell on the monthly. It's perfectly obvious who the winners or losers are. But for the week that just ended, the Aussie and obviously silver and gold were the clear losers. The dollar was the clear winner. Don't ask me why. The situation in the U.S. is at a very critical junction. The stock market has collapsed. President Trump declared a state of emergency on Friday. Here in Pennsylvania, schools were just announced to be closed for the next 2 weeks. All gatherings of any significant number of people have been prohibited by Governor Wolf for the same 2 weeks. Libraries are closed. Everything is pretty much at a shutdown. And of course, all the idiots are panic buying stuff and the supermarket shelves are pretty much empty. So it is a dire situation, even though I believe the real impact of the coronavirus isn't that dramatic. I mean, the regular flu has killed like 20 times more people in the same amount of time, but the coronavirus is the one getting all the attention and causing all the panic. So the dollar should be going down, but it's going up, and we traded it up. We don't trade opinions. We don't trade what we think might happen. We trade whatever the market is doing, and the results. Well, you saw them last week and the week before and the week before that, and so on. So the dollar gaining strength for reasons unknown. The Swiss gaining strength for obvious reasons. It is a safe haven currency. The yen did very poorly, especially against the dollar and the euro, again, for reasons unknown, since as a safe haven currency, you would think it would have appreciated. It did appreciate in against the CAD, the Kiwi, the pound, the Aussie, and bullion, but it should have outperformed everything except possibly the Swiss, yet it didn't. The pound, of course, collapsed towards the end of the week, had a huge hit. So we made double gains on that pound dollar trade because a strengthening dollar and a weakening pound at the same time, hence our biggest win of the week, 375 pips on the pound dollar. The euro also staged somewhat of a recovery, except against the dollar and the Swiss. The Swiss recovered. The CAD was pretty middle of the pack, though Friday, and we'll look at this in the charts. The CAD staged a very good recovery against most of the other currencies, but not enough to save the week for the CAD. I'm very interested in seeing how the CAD opens now that the week has begun, and see if we're going to have any significant retrace. When we look at the charts, we're going to see that most of the CAD pairs have quite a room to go if there is going to be a retrace. Those will be phenomenal opportunities for profit on a good move in the opposite direction. The calendar for the week, a bit of a busy calendar. We have the RBA meeting minutes tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. So that will dovetail with our regular 8 p.m. Trading session. It will be in the calendar, but it'll be just part of our regular session. On Wednesday, we have the Fed interest rate decision, which is going to be a bit of a tricky thing because the Fed lowered the interest rate a week or so back unexpectedly, surprisingly, with no announcement scheduled. They just simply said that they would lower the interest rate. So coming to an official Fed interest rate decision, and it's very, I mean, the jury is out, but it would be very interesting if they lowered it yet again, making it the second interest rate decrease inside of a 30-day period. So everybody's waiting to see what happens in that announcement. It will obviously be one that we will be trading live. Right off of the announcement, half an hour later, will be the FOMC press conference. We like to hear guidance on what future, I guess, adjustments to the economy the Fed has in play. Ben, you're raising your hand. You have something you want to say?
Yeah, hey Andy, I saw that the Fed dropped it again to 0% just maybe half an hour ago.
Oh, excellent. Wow. Okay, so that's very interesting. We'll see what that does to the market. I had no idea this deck, so I haven't looked. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. So then we
Yep.
got another Fed interest rate decision on Wednesday, which could be the third adjustment inside of a 30-day period. Though with that, which Ben just mentioned, it's unlikely that they will be doing that. And it's very odd, though, that they wouldn't wait for Wednesday to make that announcement. They pretty much jumped the gun by 3 days. So interesting. I'll have to follow up on that, but thanks for bringing that up. I do appreciate it. So the FOMC press conference will be very interesting as well, since it will give the Fed a good half hour to an hour of opportunities to inform the public on what they plan on doing in coming months, and also to field questions from the press. Same day, Wednesday, out of Australia in the evening, and this will also dovetail with our evening trading session, are the employment numbers coming out of that country. And at 11 p.m., that will be a special session. We will be trading the Bank of Japan's interest rate decision, which also is a very interesting one, given all the unrest and the panic going on. these interest rate decisions are going to be fine opportunities, whether or not the interest rates actually change. So Japan will have its chance to give us a rate decision as well as a monetary policy statement. And then on third, not least, we have the Swiss National Bank's interest rate decision. And this might be another surprise decision announcement because the way the Swiss franc has been behaving, I'm sure their national bank is going to attempt to do some tweaking as well. So this might be another one of those surprises to come out. So that's our calendar for the week. All the sessions will be included in the email summary to go out later tonight. So a schedule for when to join these sessions. Commodities. Commodities first, oil is still very near its bottom. This is going to be giving some fine trading opportunities for anyone trading futures or options, which I do on the side. I don't do that part publicly. I do it for my own gain. But if anybody needs any help or wants any advice on how to position yourselves in either one, futures, I will be happy to help. Just reach out to me and we can have a bit of a discussion. But I don't think that oil can remain at the levels it's at right now. So there will be at some point in the near future a retrace back to at least the 50 range, which is a good $20 up. And those are $20 that are quite easy to capture via the futures or the options market. So I'm very interested in these charts. And of course, oil does affect the Canadian here on deck as a sort of bellwether. And with that, we move on to the we can see last week we made spectacular profit trading this euro dollar down with the surprise interest rate reduction that Ben just mentioned. I'll have to see how the euro dollar and all the dollar pairs react, but I would expect there to be dollar weakness to some degree. Which again, taking into account that the dollar shouldn't have been strengthening in the first place, might give us some good opportunities. Be very careful trading these. We did have a euro dollar trade open on the intermediate term account, and it took us out when the market opened, and now I know why. It took us out at profit, but it has started retracing from where it ended on Friday. Sorry. Pound dollar, of course, we took all of these are and it hit the limit, took us out with a nice profit, and then is well, it's where you see it. So another one where I'm very interested to see how the week begins. But we can see that it's very close now to the bottom of the chart. It's off by about 250 pips, which the way it's been moving is pretty much nothing. That thing dropped 700 pips in the last 5 candles. So that is just an amazing move out of a single current pair here. Sorry. So again, very eager to see how the week begins for some of these dollar pairs, given everything that we know now. JPY went into a complete reversal after showing an amazing amount of strength that took it close to the 100 yen per dollar range. It's now also about 700 pips above its prior low. So just some spectacular movements that happened this last week. We didn't catch pieces. We're not going to catch them all, but we caught enough. And again, 20% gains inside 1 week is just plain spectacular. So I'm trying not to be greedy here, but this was a huge movement, most of it happening on Friday. USD Canadian, as half expected, it was overextended towards the top. So Friday showed it at last starting to retrace. This is one that I would dearly love to trade back to those lines you see below and all the other levels of support, even the Ichimoku cloud. This is going to give us some great opportunities, but I need to see it moving down consistently before we go for the kill. US Swiss also going to dollar strength, even though the Swiss has been doing pretty good. The dollar did outperform it. So we see this one having gone up 2 levels of resistance, finding resistance and ending the week about 40 pips below that resistance level. I think that we may be in for a trip back to parity with the dollar to the 1 = 1. So we'll be trying to look for opportunities to trade it in that direction, unless I see, of course, that it's going in the opposite. I'm agnostic on these movements. I trade them wherever they're going, but I do think that there's a good likelihood that it's going to be heading up. Aussie dollar made new lows throughout the week and ended the week at its lowest since forever. So we have it trading now at the right below the 62-cent level. And again, all of the dollar pairs bear close watching to see which way the market is going to bounce as the week begins, and we trade it accordingly. Kiwi dollar, same thing. We had a lower low from a few candles back that did not get pierced on Friday. And we can see that Friday was an indecision day for the Kiwi dollar. It went up, it went down, but ultimately ended pretty much where it had started, giving us almost no body to the candle and just two long wicks in either direction. This one might have played itself out. We're seeing that support at the bottom is holding. It could still drop. It can do whatever it wants, but I think we may be seeing an opportunity for a retrace at some point in the near future. Aussie Canadian, complete collapse towards the bottom. As I said, the CAD did regain some of its strength, except pretty much everybody except the dollar and the euro, I think. Though with the euro on Friday, it made a pretty decent movement. But the Australian collapse and the CAD was regaining a little bit of strength, making this chart as well give us a lower low. Another one where I'm eagerly watching to see which way the week bounces to see what we can play. Take into account that we do have uh, press conferences or monetary statements or whatever coming out tomorrow, as well as an employment report later in the week. So be very careful trading the Aussie around those announcements unless you're actively trading the announcement. Euro Swiss, rather sluggish, into a short on the intermediate, which is still open when it tried to break the prior bottom. Then it retraced back up, collapsed on Friday, and is not quite at break even. I think we're carrying a small loss, 30 pips or thereabouts, but it is still nicely bearish. And we can see that the bearish trend is the only trend that's visible on this chart. So we'll see if it does start giving us the lower lows. The euro and the Swiss are fighting it out right now for I guess, supremacy in that sense. The Swiss being a good safe haven currency, but the euro having been depressed for so long. Again, the coronavirus and whatever effect it has on the different countries is going to be the main mover for the market. So keep an eye on what's happening there. Italy today had its highest number of deaths from the coronavirus ever. I think they just doubled it today. And it's starting, just everybody's nervous about it. And of course, we know that President Trump has banned incoming flights from, or incoming people rather, from Europe. He had excluded the UK and Ireland, and this over the weekend he added them back. So pretty much all of Europe is in a travel ban to the United States, with the exception being U.S. citizens coming back. I don't know how that's going to work, if planes are going to be flying just to bring Americans back, or what the plan is. Haven't looked into it, don't care. But all of this is that will affect the performance of the different currencies. Euro pound, our other big winner for the week. It gave us a nice chunk of profit on the short-term account as it broke through resistance. It's looking more and more likely that we are going to see it touch the top, which was my original target. Of course, in the short term, I do close out all trades for the weekend. That one hit its trailing stop anyway, so it took us out. If not, I would have closed it. On the intermediate account, though, we still have the trade open, and we're still targeting the top of the chart as our profit taking. We've been going in and out of that trade for a while now, and this is the second sustained movement that we have on this pair since we started trading it in that direction. So far, looking good. Even if not looking good, the trailing stop is already kicked in. So on a retrace, we're still going to get out a profit. I think we were close to 200 pips on that one last time. As with most of the yen pairs, it's just very, very volatile. It's going in both directions. For most of the week, it dropped, and then on Friday, it went back up with a vengeance. So very tricky to trade these yen pairs unless you catch it in the middle of one of these sustained moves, and that could happen. So I'll be keeping these on the radar as well, but I basically did not trade the yen last week for this precise week, just going in both directions. As the CAD has not been able to catch a break, but on Friday, it finally found some footing and went up against the euro. And in this case, the euro CAD went down. That means Canadian strength, euro weakness, combination of the two. It's now broken that trend line. This is another one I'm looking closely at for an opportunity to trade it back down to what used to be its normal range, between 147 and 144 before it broke out. So this one may be another big money maker if we find it starting to trend back down. Also gave us some profit over the past week. I did trade this one on the intermediate, and you can see the whiplash that it had on Friday. It went all the way up above the prior day's candle and then went almost all the way back bottom. We got taken out on precisely that retrace at some point at profit. All in all, it was good. But again, you do have to be very conservative and very protective when trading these very volatile pairs. And they changed. This time it was the yen. Next week it could be the Swiss. You never know which one's going to be the one giving you whiplash as it moves. Aussie JPY, in general, the yen did pretty well again until Friday when it went in the opposite direction. But we can see that it didn't move as much as some of the other yen pairs moved. And indeed, before the end of the day, it retraced about halfway back down. I think we took profit on Aussie JPY as well sometime during the week. And this is another one that now that it's broken out of its prior range, may be giving us some really good opportunities to trade it down for 500, maybe more pips on a good move. All seeming resistance at the top and had actually a very boring week. Not really boring because the range that this thing moved was still quite impressive. It's a good 400 pips in both directions. But that's the key thing. It did move in both directions. So it went down, it went up, it went down. And net difference from where it started out the week is not too big. But in quite an astounding fashion. I would still be waiting for it to break support around the 179, 180 area and try to trade it back to the prior levels of support around the 173. And that's a good 800 pips. So again, going to be some great opportunities, but not until it does start moving. Pound Canadian bottom, we took some profit on this one, but it was very bouncy. So at some point it did retrace and take us out with a trailing stop at, again, not a huge amount of profit, actually quite small. And then it went and continued in the same direction. So we would have made a lot more profit on this one had the trailing stop not taken us out. But these trailing stops are there for a reason. They're meant to keep us safe. And that is my primary concern, making sure that when we lose, we don't lose too much because we will be in losing trades along the way. So the key thing is not to lose too much and then to make sure our winners are as big as possible. So this one faked us out, took us out on the retrace and then continued. Unavoidable. Still, it did give us profit. And pound Swiss went all the way this one profitably on one of the accounts as well. Yeah, probably the intermediate. I don't know how much of that move we caught, but we certainly caught enough. It was a one of the good profit makers throughout the week. I will point out at the very bottom of the daily chart, so that's a very significant level of support it has there, and it could as easily bounce up as continue going down. So again, wait for the next 24 or so hours of the market to see if we have any sustained directionality, and we'll start looking at entering some of these trades again. That is the end of the charts. The setup is in progress, and I mentioned this at the top of the call. Nothing matters right now other than the coronavirus and whatever is in the news cycle regarding the coronavirus. Everything else is taking a back seat, and that's why this chart will continue showing nothing but coronavirus until we're out of that crisis. And some parting words. And I always put things that either puzzle me or that I'm very sure of. This is one of the things that puzzle me. And it's that people who sit on the sidelines will never win. Well, that doesn't puzzle me. I know that. But I'm amazed at people who follow, see the results, which you all just saw, yet don't sign up for what we're offering. This isn't a pitch. First of all of you on the call are paid up or you wouldn't be on this live call. So I can't be pitching you. But in general, I have right around 1,000 followers last time I bothered to check, most of whom never do anything. I don't know if they're following me and 100 other people or what their approach to life is. I trade live. You've all seen that with the real money account. So lose money, it's real money. If I win money, and trust me, I'm winning, it's also real money. I post my results publicly every week. There's my FX book link that verifies, because it's connected to my accounts, it verifies and audits my results in months. So I can't be, scamming people like all my competition, all offense meant. But again, this isn't a pitch in that it really is no skin off my back if people don't sign up. I'm doing great trading my own money and my investment, but certainly puzzling. Do they have no money? If so, why do you follow me? Do they think the results are fake? Then again, why are you following me? And so on. So just a little bit of things that puzzle me. They don't keep me awake at night, but they do puzzle me. And slide added the presentation since the beginning of the year, and speaks to what I just said. I refuse to advertise because then I'd be competing with all those people offering 100% a week promises, and again, they're scammers. A few of you have suggested word of mouth to get the message out, and I like that. I don't like to self-promote. I don't like to spend money on advertising. It sends the wrong message. If I go out and tell people how good I am, I just sound like yet another idiot scammer. So I rely on you guys. Tell people who you know, your friends, family, whoever you're comfortable telling them, show them your accounts. They are your accounts. They're real money. And maybe you can convince some of them. And again, I'm not hurting. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not starving. I'm making all the money I want to make on my own. But I do feel that I could be reaching more people and making a difference in their lives. And again, that's the part that puzzles me, why more people don't take me up on the offer. I'm getting to the end of the fiscal year, as I said, and I will be raising prices for the copy trader and all the other services as of April. All of you, don't worry about it. I've made this promise since the beginning. I'm never going to raise prices on anybody that's already signed up. So anybody who's a current subscriber in good standing is locked in at whatever rate they came in. So the price is never going to go up for you unless you leave and then decide to come back. But let people know that for the next 2 weeks, they can sign up essentially at half price at the same $1,200 we've been charging per year. As of April, it's actually going to go up to $2,500. Somebody asked me why $2,500. I said, well, I just doubled the prior price and then I added $100 out of spite. So really, that's what I'm doing. So the new price is going to be $2,500 for anybody signing up after April. Anybody already signed up, you will be locked in at your current rate forever and ever and ever. And any other suggestions you have, do feel free to email me at trader@specialfxacademy.com. And that is the end of my this. Do I have any comments or questions from anyone? Okie dokie, then thank you very much. I will be sending a summary and a recording of this session out very shortly, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Our first trading session of the week, 8 p.m. tomorrow, Monday. Thank you so much, and be safe out there with the coronavirus. Have fun.